Wow, there's a lot of people up here. Hi, everyone. My name is Jessie Lam, and I actually speak quite often for work. But today, I'm actually going to do something a little different. I'm going to talk about something a little bit personal. I'm going to talk about my near-death experience, as well as something that's a little bit seemingly unrelated, data. And so to help you understand my story today, I'm going to give you a little bit of background. So I was born and raised in New York to blue-collar parents in an immigrant neighborhood. I was a pretty good student. I went on to study NYU, finance and accounting. And then for the next 10 years, I worked in banking in New York City. In 2014, I moved to Hong Kong, where I later joined Brink as a tech investor and venture capitalist. As CFO, I oversaw 4 offices globally, as well as 59, I think now, portfolio companies. I was their financial advisor. So you can see I'm pretty outgoing, pretty type A, kind of person. Well, here's a photo of my husband and I after we had just finished hiking the Twins here in Hong Kong. This photo was also taken the day before I attempted to commit suicide for the first time. What that smile was masking was that I had actually been diagnosed with clinical depression the year before and had been actively battling it even while I was working in venture capital and in technology. And so the causes of depression are not well known. There are some studies that link it with people that have smaller hippocampus, and therefore they produce less serotonin. And so there's a real chemical imbalance in your brain. But the thing is with depression and more largely mental health illness is that it's not always recognized as a real illness. So sometimes you'll have people saying, why are you taking so many pills? Why are you taking so many medication? Why do you need antidepressants? Just don't be sad, right? But that's like really saying to someone who has diabetes, why do you need insulin? Sometimes you almost feel like that your mental health illness is not valid, that you're not suffering, and that you have to prove that you need help. So I'm standing before you today because obviously my suicide attempts were not successful. I worked with many doctors, I've gone through therapy and medication, and I'm here before you today. But the thing with antidepressants is that you have to use a lot of trial and error to find the right combination of medication and dosage. And so I've gone through every medication that's on screen right now. And eventually, I was put on a cocktail of medication for treatment-resistant patients. And it's actually so powerful and so potent that it's actually nicknamed California rocket fuel because of how quickly you can improve while on it. Back when I moved to Hong Kong, I had also bought a digital scale. And so I would weigh myself every day, and the data would get logged in the scale and get uploaded to the cloud. And you can track your weight fluctuations on the mobile app. So for today, I had downloaded all of that data, and I created this graph. And this graph contains over 1,000 points of data that tracks my weight over a 3-year period during the most acute point of when I was suffering from depression. And when I graph this out, I actually noticed a pattern. The pattern is every significant weight fluctuation that I see coincides with a change in my antidepressant medication. So there was some medication that caused me to sleep for 16 hours a day. There was other medication that caused me to lose 20% of my body weight in 1 week. The side effects were very scary because of how powerful this medication is. But the good news is that I now had my own health data. I can go to my doctor, I can use this data to help improve my course of treatment. And so it allowed me a small ounce of control in what I felt like was a very out-of-control life at that time. And so that's not just it. As a tech investor, oftentimes I now get tech toys for my birthday, for Christmas. And so one year, my family had bought me a smartwatch. And the smartwatch also tracks your heart rate, which is really good because I also suffer from anxiety. And so a normal person's heart rate, their resting heart rate, normally ranges about 60 to 80 beats per minute. And it can be less if you're a really great marathon runner or some sort of athlete. But for me, I had set the notification on my smartwatch to alert me anytime my resting heart rate rose above 110 beats per minute. The reason is because that generally signaled that I was having an anxiety attack. And so here you can see a record of every notification that I received on my smartwatch in 2018. And actually, on September 30th, you can see there's multiple entries because there's actually a particularly bad attack that happened on that day. And so with anxiety attacks, one of the ways that you can help kind of combat it or help yourself through it is through meditation. But the thing is that I'm really bad at meditation. I can't clear my mind, I'm hyperactive, my eyelids flutter, I feel like the weight of the world is on my shoulders. But luckily, one of the teams that I had invested in had developed a blackout, noise-canceling eye mask, and it's actually using breath work to help reduce your heart rate by up to 25% in 5 minutes. And so as a VC, I tend to travel a lot. I'm always on the road, I'm always in airports. And so I oftentimes need to use this particular eye mask to kind of quiet my mind and give myself some peace and kind of let that anxiety go. And so I'm talking to you today about a couple of different types of technology that has helped me with my mental illness. But there's actually an entire world movement out there. It's active in 32 countries, and it's called Quantified Self. And it's where people are using things like activity trackers or sleep monitors or DNA testing to gather data about themselves to improve both their physical and mental wellness. And so I'm standing before you today with the help of my doctors and therapy and medication as a high-functioning person, hopefully, living with clinical depression. I hope that I was able to shed some light on the problem. I really hope I was able to bring down some of that stigma and basically show how a person can live, really live, with mental illness. Thank you.